I'm trying to talk about it a lot here, but I really want you to understand how to process. And these questions are really simple, and you're going to ask them a lot in your life. And when you do that, you'll start seeing change, right? What am I actually feeling, right? When you start, so I'm going to give you a kind of example in this moment, Epic. When that person said that to you in the immediate, right? Not the afterwards when you let it sit for a moment. In that immediate, if you said, what am I feeling right now? Because I almost guarantee you the first uh, feeling that you would have felt in that, and you wouldn't have noticed it right away, but in the back of your brain was like a scoff. It would have been like, huh, yeah, right. You know, because that's your immediate subconscious reaction because you know that that's not true, right? So obviously that's what your brain immediately said. Now, when you sit in it and you overthink it, um, what happens is your body starts to take on that emotion, right? Which is why when people project things onto you, you feel that weight. Okay, so if I'm calling you names and I'm saying things to you that are not nice, I'm literally just showing you exactly where my insecurities are. And when you learn to look at it from that perspective, you have the choice. Okay, if someone says something to you, whether it's good, bad, or ugly, even the information I'm giving you now, you have a choice. Do I want to pick that up? Do I want to carry that? Is that mine? Is that information for me? Does that make me feel good? Does it make me feel empowered? Does it make me feel strong? Does it make me feel like I can advocate for myself? I can learn and move forward? If yes, okay, then that may be worth picking up and carrying because that is helpful. That's something that's going to work through in my future and benefit me. If it's something that doesn't make me feel good, that I know is demeaning to me, makes me feel less than, or is meant to make me feel less than. Because once you get to know yourself, like it's just not even it's. It'll just get to the point where you're like, you just wasted your energy. Thanks, bud. Thanks for your energy. I appreciate you. Because once you learn how to transmute that energy, which is what I'm teaching you, um, it doesn't phase you. It becomes your energy, your fuel, and that's where you build and create from. So, if it makes you feel anything in a negative or in a heavy manner, you let it go. Or you don't pick it up to begin with. It's there on the ground. You walk by it, like you walk by a piece of garbage on the ground. Um, or you walk by, I don't know, a bug. Are you going to just stomp on it? You're walking by? No, you're going to leave it be. Why? Like, it's not messing with you, right? So you get to decide. And if your first decision is, yeah, I don't want to carry that, I don't want to deal with that, that's usually the right one, right? And then if you look at it, why do I not want to carry it? Because I'm literally watching this person who is attacking me in something that I know isn't true. They're showing me their own insecurity. I now know what would upset them. So if I took those words that they said to me and I spewed them back to them, it would very much hurt them. Do I want to be that person today? Right? And that's the process. That's the understanding. You get to make those decisions. Are you going to be perfect every time? Is there going to be times, especially in the beginning, where you spew back that venom? Oh, yeah. I had to learn many times, and trust me, when my mouth got going, I could just make grown men cry. I could be so vile, especially when you have that much anger. So learning to process it and understand it, it only creates space for you. And when you create that space, you're saying to them, and you can look them directly in their face, and you can be like, I see you. I see what you're insecure about. You don't need to be. Instead of taking it on, you can literally say it to them. I'm not here to take on your insecurities, right? I don't speak to you that way. Don't speak to me that way. If they continue, then you just get rid of them. You block them like they're not there. You give the warning. That's all you need to ever do. But other than that, you don't ever take that on. It's not something for you to carry. That's the pause, and then you name it. You understand what it is. You notice how it makes you feel. That's the whole medicine within process. You're understanding what it is. The other question, where have I felt this before? Why does this make me feel heavy? Why does this make me feel bad? right? It's going to lead back to somewhere, and it's usually from childhood or farther back there that made you feel less than. A place where you felt embarrassed or shamed or anxious because of something that happened, scared because of something that happened. There's always going to be a trail. There's always going to be a path. And when you start questioning and asking those questions, it will lead you back to where it was. And then you can understand why this triggers you, which means you can catch it along the way. And as you start catching it along the way, that's when you start integrating it, because you start to understand and process what it is about you. Why, right? We all have trauma. We all have these things, and that's okay. It's not about, and it's not about making an excuse. It's about saying, yes, that was trauma, but I'm not going through that now. That's not going to happen to me again. That's not what this is about. I've learned how to advocate for myself properly. I've learned how to not put myself in situations that are going to potentially have a bad thing happen, right? So even though you can trace it back to there, you can say, yes, back then I had no control of that. Now I do. So that's not going to happen. And if things that do happen that are going to be traumatic, I know how to, one, protect myself. I know how to save myself, and I know how to do the proper things. So that fear, that upset, that trigger starts to become integrated, and you don't feel it, and it doesn't become a trigger anymore because you're recognizing it, you're acknowledging it, you're noticing it, you're understanding why, and you're giving yourself grace because you had every right to feel that way back then. You didn't know, and you've learned and you've grown and you've understood so much more since then, right? Something that would make you scared when you're 6, obviously as an adult, is not going to make you feel fearful now, but subconsciously it's still back there from when you're 6. So it could still bring fear if you don't start to notice it. Wait a minute, I was only 6 when that happened. Like, that's just silly. That's not going to happen anymore. Why would I be scared? But you didn't notice it. So it's this thing in the back that's just been nagging at you and creating this anxiety and fear that you didn't even know or understand because of something that happened back then. So when you notice and you start tracking it back, where have I felt this before? It starts to open up to you these ideas, the pathway showing you how it happens. So now you can catch it, understand it, and go, yeah, but that doesn't matter anymore. That's not relevant in my life, how I live now. So you start to integrate it. So every time that comes, you start to feel that trigger, and now you're going, oh, I remember now, that comes back, that stems from there. Now you can remind yourself, okay, I don't need to feel that now because I'm an adult and I know how to advocate for myself properly. I don't have to wait for somebody else to do it for me. You don't have those fears, so you catch it. So instead of triggering, you're like, oh, I don't need that anymore. I understand. Thank you so much. And that's what this is trying to teach you. This is that process. And then you get to understand also, you ask yourself the question, is this mine? Is this what I'm feeling right now? Or is this something I've been carrying since I was a kid and I didn't understand? Right? And when you can notice it and say, oh yeah, that's from way back, it's not relevant anymore. And when you start saying that and speaking it into existence, it's not relevant anymore. You teach your brain that trigger, that fear, it doesn't matter anymore. It's not something, it was meant to protect me. Thank you for protecting me at 6. I don't need you anymore. It'll take a few times, right? But every time it happens, as soon as that trigger comes up or starts to, you feel it coming up, you can notice it. And as soon as you notice it, you already know you're never going to react again. You're going to respond, right? You've already noticed it. That's the first thing. Now I can trace it back. Oh, yeah. And this happens very quickly once you start doing it. Oh, this goes back to when I was 6. I remember that's the trigger. Okay, it's not relevant here. And immediately your body goes from survival mode to, hold on, that doesn't matter anymore. Right? And you're teaching your brain that you don't need to react that way anymore. You can respond like an adult who has learned to properly advocate for themselves. So this is why it's so important, the alchemy of motion, because there's an entire process that happens, and it starts with this little noticing. And when you name it and when you speak it out, I understand, and then you can trail it back. You can figure out where it is. That's learning your patterns. You understand that. That's an entire process. Yes, you've learned each step along the way, but what happens is once you learn and understand the steps and learn your tools, what works the best for you to notice and understand it, you start doing this process in the background. It doesn't happen so much in the forefront because it becomes like breathing. Now you never get to a place where you're reacting, where you're freaking out, where you're letting something someone else says that is irrelevant to your life. You're not letting it bother you because they're not relevant to your life. Do you wish harm on them? No. I don't have time for that. I don't want to wish harm on anybody, right? Because when we wish harm on anybody, we're calling that back into our life. And if there's anything I want to speak into this world, it's growth and life and love and all of the things into people, whether they like me or not, right? And it's not about being facetious, and we don't have to, pray that they're lifted up while they're stomping on us. It's as simple as, this is not my burden to bear. I wish you the best, but I'm going to remove myself from the situation because it's not acceptable for me, right? You're not wishing harm. You're just saying we don't align and I don't want that problem in my life. I'm dealing with my own life, learning how I respond to things. I don't have time to figure your stuff out, right? And it's okay. That's called advocating for yourself, and that's exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And all of this medicine that happens, all of this stuff happens once you start to learn the process and once you figure out your tools. So again, the tool, pause, name, what is it? What am I feeling? Where have I felt this before? And is this mine or is this something I've been carrying? This is the noticing, right? You're asking the questions. Now, in the beginning, you have to consciously do it. For sure, you have to. But it gets to a point where you get so good at it that all of these questions, all of this sorting and processing happens, right? It just happens automatically. And when we pause, you don't react immediately. Take a breath. Take 2. Take 3. Don't worry about what's going on around you. If you're not actively under gunfire or physical abuse, like fists coming at you or weapons or whatever, there's time to pause. There's always time to pause. Give yourself that. That's a gift you can give yourself. And you're giving the other person because you're saving them from the absolute outrage that you could literally rain down on them. And when you look at it that way, right, you're doing it for yourself and for everybody else, right? And then name it. Is this fear? Is it guilt? Is it shame? What is it that makes me automatically feel so anxious and upset, right? That's where all those questions start coming in. And then where is it in your body? Do I feel nauseous? Do I feel my blood pressure going up? Do I feel the red coming up? Do I feel pain in my shoulders? The tension, the weight, right? Because there's a space and you will feel it, especially when you try to ignore it. You'll feel it so hard you won't be able to. And also when you start noticing it and releasing it, you'll feel lighter. These places where it was feeling triggered, it'll start feeling lighter. It'll happen less because you're noticing the pattern and you're adjusting it so it never gets to that point. So, and that's where we turn reaction into awareness. This medicine within is literally just taking the tools that you've already been learning along the way, understanding what they are, how and when to use them, and telling your body, okay, I'm not in reaction mode anymore. Where's those tools? What is the tool that's going to take me back to those questions? What is the tool that's going to get me to this space where it allows it? Is it going for a walk? Is it doing housework? Is it putting music on, going outside for a jog or cleaning your house? Is it picking up a paintbrush? Is it scribbling on paper until you figure out what you want to draw? It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter how cheesy you think it is. It's what works for you in the initial moment. Is it tapping your hand? Is it drumming your fingers on the table? It doesn't matter what it is, okay? Always want to expand and you always want to find more. But figuring out what it is that allows you a moment to pause, allows you a moment to say, hey, that's it. I got to get myself out of the thick of it and come back to the observer. Because when you witness it and you understand it and you're not holding all of that stuff in, you're just an observer. Like you witness a car accident, right? You're taking it in, you're understanding it, you're processing it. Now you can engage from a point where I'm not going to climb inside this box. I'm not going to climb in this trap, and I'm not going to allow you to take me down a pathway that's going to set me up for a cycle of fear, guilt, shame, because when we react instead of respond, that's exactly where we go. And then we have to climb out of that one on top of moving forward. So when we understand how to get to this process and we process it before we ever get to the reaction, we get to skip the fear, guilt, shame cycle and instead have a whole extra energy that would have taken, and we can use that for the creation, what we want to make, how we want to learn, what it is that brings us joy, the ability to go find new hobbies. Like there's a million ways that it becomes beneficial. And then obviously that's where you start to learning. What do I release? What do I want to keep, right? Obviously we want to release the old patterns. That's the first thing that's got to go. Those old patterns lead us down pathways that are the triggers, that are the snapping, that are all the bad things. They're old patterns. Doesn't mean the whole pattern has to go. We just need to start learning where those patterns start to break down, where it starts to go negative. And if it's a completely negative pattern, yeah, just scrap it and start a new one. Create a new one for yourself. But if there's a really good pattern and there's just somewhere along the way that it starts to go left and the pivot starts to get a little crazy, you can track it back to where that pivot is and say, okay, but up to there, this was good, 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 good. So where it starts to break down, this is where I need to find a different choice. This is where I need to figure it out. And you become so good at it that it just happens naturally. And it doesn't always even have to be the right choice. It just has to be a different choice that keeps you from going to snap mode, that keeps you from going to reaction, to self-sabotage, to all those things. So sometimes this is literally going to be trial and error. Okay, well, this, if I go and I confront them and I go in their face or whatever, then it's going to be a struggle. We already know it breaks down, goes to physical, and it's just craziness. So instead of that, how about I go, I'm going to take a breath. I need to go think about this, and we'll come back and deal with this later, right? And make sure you come back and deal with it later. That is a different choice, and I can almost guarantee it's going to end up with a way different result. So that's the idea. It's just noticing where it is, where things break down, and allowing yourself the space and the chance to change it. And even if that wasn't the best choice, okay, you can be like, well, that didn't feel the greatest. It wasn't the best choice, but it didn't end up like this. So that's already a win. Okay, well, how could I make that a little better? And you start improving on your own self, your own behaviors, how you advocate for yourself. You start improving on it because instead of wasting time in that fear, guilt, shame cycle, you're like, it didn't happen. And I feel really good that it didn't happen. And now I'm happy about myself. And even if it wasn't perfect, I'm way happier than I would have been if it went to this, right? So now you have all that extra energy. So what could I do different? You're just asking. You're curious. You're not punishing yourself. You're saying, way to go. I did way better this time. What could I do different? It's such a difference. It's like, I don't want to hold that. Okay, what do I want to pick up? What do I want to learn? Because when you release that stuff, you made room. Emotional reactions that don't serve you. Snapping, yelling, firing back insults. It's not going to say it's never going to happen. It hasn't happened for me in a long time. A very long time. Because I do my very best to take it back because I always feel horrible if I have to spew back or do that word game with people. I don't like to do that. And then I feel really horrible about it. So it's been quite a long time because I got really good at this. Because I know how to come back to it every single time. I do this process in every single thing I do. When something comes in, if a letter comes in, if I'm feeling anxious or something, a bill comes in that's a little crazy that shouldn't be that, you know, where before it would be just self-sabotage, craziness, explosion, what am I going to do, fear, you know, now it's like, okay, what is this? Is it a typo? Is it this? And you start going through the checks and balances. What is it? Is there a reason? Can you make a payment arrangement? Can you do this? Like, there's things that can be done that don't have to be absolute explosions. Life is going to life. Things are not always going to be simple. But when we understand this process and we learn how to use it in our everyday lives, this process becomes that medicine within. It is medicine. It teaches you, it heals you, it allows you that space, and it happens while you breathe, Will you take that pause? Will you do that thing to let go of all that extra emotion, right? So if those reactions don't serve you, let it go. Make room for the happy reactions. Make room for creating. Learn to advocate for yourself. Whatever it may be that is going to make you happy, that's what we want you to do. And then the beliefs that are rooted in fear or survival. I can't do that. I can't do that because the last time I did that 5 years ago, it didn't work out. Okay, but did you know what you knew 5 years ago? What have you learned since the last 5 years? In what way could it propel you in a better way? Do you know how to pivot? Because you learned all of these things. So obviously you're not going to do the same thing you did 5 years ago. It's automatic. You're not going to do that because you've learned and grown, right? So if it's rooted in fear of survival, it's not ever going to be the answer. Survival is meant for life and death. So unless there's a bullet flying at your head or somebody chasing you down with a knife or trying to run you over in a car, survival should not be the thing that we need to do, right? So when things automatically go to that situation, this or this, it's not ever going to be the right answer. So when you can say, I already know I'm feeling the anxiety, I feel the immediate rush of whatever, it's this or this. Your brain will automatically start saying, no, it's not. Remember? That's survival. And you can say, I choose not to keep that. So let's take a pause. Let's wait for it. Give it a minute. I'm safe here right now. Everything is okay. Give me a few minutes. Now let's try to think of some options. Do I need a little more time? What can I do, right? You see how that changed from, oh my God, this or this, to there's another way, and I just need to calm down so I can find it. You're telling yourself this, right? You're not going, I don't need to run from a car or a bullet today, right? It's okay. Right now I'm okay. So there has to be a better way. So obviously you want to keep your awareness. What is it I'm feeling, right? The fact that I'm becoming more aware and I see it and I understand it, I want to keep that. That's a tool. That's something that is beneficial. It lifts me up. It keeps me out of fear and anxiety, and it gets me into curiosity, inspired, wanting to learn. And when you can't be learning and curious and be fearful and scared at the same time. You can't be sad and depressed and curious and learning at the same time. So when you start changing and becoming aware of these things and changing that fear into, how could I learn to do better? Why is that? What is that? It takes you right out of fear and turns it into curiosity. And it's just literally changing the perspective, right? And that immediate perspective change will raise your vibration exponentially. So, and then boundaries, right? We always want to keep our boundaries. We need to learn to advocate for them. It took so long to learn what they are, to understand why we need them. So those boundaries, they must stay, right? We're not trying to put ourselves up in an ivory tower, but we want to be very clear. Boundaries are not just for me. Boundaries are for me and for you. So you have your boundary, I have my boundary. And anywhere along this line, there's my boundary, there's your boundary. Okay, this is an unsafe space, this is an unsafe space. Anywhere between here is a safe space for me and you to connect, to talk, to chat, to understand, to have discussions, to create, to understand, to build, right? And when we understand what those boundaries mean, it becomes a lot easier to advocate for them and uphold them. And of course, we want to keep clarity, because as long as we have awareness and understanding, every step we move forward is going to be much more clear, right? We're not doing it from resentment or anger or fear or shame. We're doing it because we're saying, yes, I've taken the moment, I understand, I've done the process, and this next step is my next clear, actionable step. It's something that I can do. Is it researching, looking something up online? Is it understanding the law, a consumer law? Is it something that you have to read through and learn how to understand that's going to help you in the future? Is it a course maybe you need to look into taking? But you've done the steps and you've asked the questions. So you're letting go of all of that stuff. That's the medicine within. That's the process. And that's what allows you to understand that keeping these things is going to be beneficial. Holding on to the old patterns, the bad reactions, all the things, is going to weigh you down, and it's not going to give you the energy you need to get through to the next part of the process, right? So when you start understanding that, it becomes a lot easier. It's like, why do I want to hold on to some reaction? Why do I want to hold on to someone flipping me off for no random reason? It's wasted energy. I'd much rather hold on to, okay, they were probably having a bad day. I have bad days too sometimes, so we're not going to freak out about it. We're going to let it go and move on about our day, right? We're not going to continue the negative cycle, and we're going to even maybe smile at them, do a nice wave, whatever, right? It's just about saying, you don't affect me today, and allowing yourself to see and understand that. So, you don't release the lesson. You release the weight of the lesson. You release the things that were holding you back. You release the things that didn't feel good. And you pick up and carry the tools that allow you to learn and process the next lesson so you can turn it into your blessing. And that's really, really the best part.